On what seemed like just another peaceful morning, Tu Tian's life took a turn so violent and cruel it shattered not just her body, but her very identity. In the blink of an eye, a sudden car accident stripped away everything she knew, her memories, her name, her story. When she opened her eyes, nothing made sense. The hospital lights, the sterile white walls, and the concerned faces hovering above her were all unfamiliar. Even her own reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger. She couldn't remember where she was born, who her family was, or even what she loved. The world had become a blank slate, one not full of promise, but paralyzing fear. And the worst part? There was no roadmap back, just silence and uncertainty. But the trauma didn't end there. Just as Tu Tian was beginning to grasp the terrifying depth of her memory loss, the doctor entered her room with an expression that was both gentle and grave. Sitting beside her bed, he delivered news that felt like another earthquake beneath her already shaken world. Tu Tian was 8 weeks pregnant. At first, she thought she misheard, but the truth settled in like cold water down her spine. She was going to have a child she couldn't remember conceiving, with a man whose name she didn't know. This wasn't just shocking, it was paralyzing. How could she be responsible for another life when she couldn't even remember her own? The doctor's recommendation was clear. She needed absolute rest, both for her physical recovery and the safety of the pregnancy. But Tu Tian wasn't simply lying in a hospital bed. She was trapped in a body with no memory, in a future she hadn't planned for, surrounded by strangers and questions that led nowhere. Each day became a haunting cycle. She'd wake up, feel a moment of hope that maybe something would return, only to be met with the same heavy fog. She tried to smile at the nurses, to stay composed, but when she was alone, the tears would come. Tears of fear, isolation, and an overwhelming sense of helplessness. She would sit by the hospital window, staring out at the sky, hoping that maybe the sunlight might spark a forgotten memory. Sometimes she would press her hand gently against her belly, trying to feel some connection to the tiny life growing inside her. But it felt like holding a stranger's hand, intimate, yet distant. Just when the weight of solitude was becoming unbearable, the story took a turn. A name echoed through the hospital halls: Jack. A young man with frantic eyes and a trembling voice, asking desperately for Tu Tian. Nurses tried to explain that she had no memory, that it might be too much, but he insisted. He needed to see her. And then, there he was, standing at the foot of her bed. Jack. His expression carried a mixture of fear, love, and exhaustion. But when their eyes met, Tu Tian's reaction was painfully blank. Jack smiled softly, even as his heart cracked inside. "I'm Jack," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. "I'm your boyfriend. I've been looking everywhere for you." Tu Tian didn't say anything. She just stared, trying to match this gentle, kind face with the black void in her mind. She wanted to believe him. Something about his voice stirred something faint, like the echo of a familiar melody, but she couldn't name it. Not yet. Jack didn't try to force anything. He just asked to stay. The hospital allowed it, and over the next few days, Jack never left her side. He talked to her softly, shared little stories about their life, how they met, their favorite noodle place, the plant they were trying to keep alive in their apartment. He wasn't trying to trigger her memory. He was just there. After a few days, Jack made a decision that surprised even the hospital staff. He asked if he could take Tu Tian to recover in the countryside, at the home of an elderly couple who had helped care for her after the accident. Jack believed she'd heal better in a warm, quiet space than in a sterile hospital room. And surprisingly, Tu Tian agreed. She didn't know why she trusted him, but his kindness felt real. And when the elderly couple welcomed her into their home with open arms and steaming bowls of soup, something inside her began to thaw. Jack transformed into a caregiver overnight. He cooked, cleaned, and ensured Tu Tian had everything she needed. He set alarms for her medications, rubbed her back when she couldn't sleep, and whispered gentle reassurances when nightmares woke her in a cold sweat. But perhaps the most touching part was watching him talk to her belly. Every night before bed, Jack would kneel beside her and talk softly to the unborn child. "Hi, baby. It's me, Daddy," he'd say. "You don't know me yet, but I already love you more than life." He'd place his hand over her stomach and close his eyes, as if drawing strength from the quiet thump of life inside. It was during these moments that Tu Tian often found herself crying, not out of sadness, but a kind of aching tenderness. She didn't remember Jack, but watching the way he loved her made her believe that maybe she once loved him too. And yet, the memory didn't return. Each day she tried. Jack showed her photos, some candid, some posed. In one, they were dancing in the rain, soaked and laughing. In another, they were curled up on the couch, her head on his shoulder. "That one was taken 2 months ago," he'd whisper, hoping it would unlock something. But the photos felt like someone else's life, beautiful but distant. Still, Jack never pressured her. He never asked, "Do you remember me yet?" He never begged or showed frustration. He just loved her as she was in that moment. The elderly couple, too, became part of her healing. They told stories of their own youth, their own losses and joys. They reminded Tu Tian that life isn't always about remembering. It's about being present, about feeling cared for. They cooked meals that tasted like love, played soft music in the evenings, and never made her feel like a burden. Gradually, Tu Tian began to smile again, not because she remembered, but because she felt safe. There was one night, quiet, cool, stars bright in the sky, when she and Jack sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket. She looked at him, really looked at him, and said, "I don't remember you, but I trust you." Jack didn't say anything. He just took her hand, gently, and kissed it. Those words meant everything. The baby grew, and so did their bond. Jack read parenting books aloud to her, talked about names, even painted a small nursery in the couple's guest room. Though they were living in borrowed space and uncertain times, they were building a life. And then, one morning, something small happened. Tu Tian was flipping through a photo album when she stopped on a picture of her and Jack at a waterfall. Her fingers trembled. "This place," she whispered. Her heart raced. She couldn't explain it, but a rush of emotion surged through her. Joy, sadness, warmth. It wasn't a memory, not exactly, but it was something. A thread. Jack didn't say a word. He just smiled and whispered, "Take your time." By then, the people around them weren't strangers anymore. They were a chosen family. And though the road ahead was still uncertain, Tu Tian had something stronger than memory. She had love. Love that didn't demand or pressure. Love that showed up. Love that held space for healing, for rediscovery, for hope. This wasn't just a story about tragedy. It was about quiet resilience, about what it means to rebuild from the ground up, about how sometimes family isn't made of shared blood, but shared kindness. In Jack's unwavering devotion, and in the gentle care of two strangers, Tu Tian found her footing again. Her memory might still be incomplete, but her future was no longer empty. It was full of potential, of people who loved her, and of the life growing inside her. This story is a reminder to all of us. When life takes away everything, love still remains. And in that love, we can find the courage to begin again.